session. Myself, Engineer Hampika. Today we are going to discuss the topic about research resource utilization and management. Whereas on research already we discussed about what are the things very crucial to do research in a good manner, in a productive manner. Time is one of the factor which is very important, that based on the time, the economy and the productivity of the research will reflect in an indirect manner. Whereas the location is the other part. Where we are doing this, the research. Is it the correct location to check whatever the result we use it to do? Whatever the research we use it to select. Based on the selection, we use it to decide about this time or place. For example, as a mining engineer, what was the location they have to choose? How much time they need to spend on that place again? Generally they use it to take few permissions for a certain period. At that time, we use it to utilize that location in a very productive manner based on the time management again. Because if we would like to implement on real time, we use it to be very conscious about the research, what we are doing. Then it will come as a productive manner and there is a possibility of implementation more. Whereas the other one, the sources of the required data are the other important constituent essentials to ensure effective planning to conduct a research study. Then we need few tools and methods we use it to use for this data collection again. Then what are the tools and methods of data collection? Generally, this element of research design involves the description of different tools and methods of data collection. For example, again the question, these questionnaires based on interviews, or for sometimes the direct observation, or any other methods they use it to select for this data collection. Then the other part of the research sources. What are the possibilities available for a researcher according to their resources? As an academic research, as an educational institute, what was the provision to do research is very important. Based on that, the selection of a research problem statement or the selection of research area becomes like very useful. For example, I am working as a faculty and I choose the research area relevant to the industry. It is little tough. We have to manage this and we have to take permissions from the outsources. There is a possibility, of course, based on your content, but there is a little difficulty on the resources utilization at that time. As an industrial person, they use it to do with academic research is comfortable. Because the permissions and all will get easily, but not again like a regular manner. As an industrial person, if you would like to come and sit in academic research is also little tough, but it's not complicated. Whereas the vice versa of academic research would like to go for a industrial research is a little tough. This is a simple management with the resources is very important on this research again. Generally, research design must also include the description of methods of data analysis, whereas either in a quantitative manner or a qualitative data analysis techniques then. That helps the researcher to collect and the relevant data. And the collection of data is also to be very relevant. So for that purpose, they use it to select the research design or research cycle or methods or tools to be used, or sources to be used. So which later can be analyzed as per the research design plan again. Then without a formula plan of data analysis, researcher may collect irrelevant data, which can later become like difficult to analyze. Then the selection of research design. This is also one of the crucial step for a research resource utilization again. Because the research designs are plans and the procedures for researcher that span and directions decisions from the board assumptions to detailed method of data collection and analysis. In order to meet the aims and objectives of a study, researchers must select the most appropriate design. The selection of a research design largely depends on the nature of the research problem, because the resources availability, accessibility of subjects and research ethics again. Here, coming to the resource availability and research ethics. Again, today our topic itself is about the research resources, utilization and management. Whereas among with the resources availability, the research ethics are very, very important. As I previously discussed about the resources selection based on the profession or based on their circle of people is very helpful for a researcher. As an industrial person research, they have few set of people for a marketing or for a production development. These kind of categories are available. Whereas as a academic research, the academic research is in the way of the novelty, at the same time the knowledgeability. Not actually, we are not ensured that this is the one, but most of the times, then the resources used to be utilized based on the availability. If a person selected a research topic relevant to the real-time issues like minings or domestic issues or social issues or some other categories like ocean related things or nowcasting, all these are the real-time topics on challenges to resolve or to search for a solution actually day to day. So then if we are very relevant with that kind of environment, there are no sources regarding to the mining, for example, but the problem statement of a researcher is selected with a mining, it becomes very tough. We have to go through the selection of contacts relevant to that. Then if in case we got the contact and we got the permission of working, we went there, we did our research with the help of the other out resources person. Then the research ethics comes into the picture, because this research ethics is like we use it to be very ethical when researcher use it to doing their research. I use so and so resources. I use it to mention or acknowledge the resources person or maybe the provision of a industry or any kind of environment. I use it to acknowledge it. If not, it is not ethical, because without acknowledgement, the ethical process used to be getting a side part. That is not really good research, really not ethical research. Or if I took the other person's help on this research and personal research work, then I use it to give the either authorship or as again I said acknowledgement, or if they are mentors, then we use it to take permission, and then we go ahead to contact the correct contact. Need a paper proof for the permissions. Then we will go ahead with the research work to take help of out resources especially. If it is like in resources, then research ethics will come in a other type, other manner. Like I am implementing my research work in my working area, or my if it is my for example, few researchers have their own businesses, means then they are doing their own improvement. Then also the encrypted data should always be protected. Then because research doesn't happen with a a single person on many cases. It is like a very individual perspective, at the same time the group of contribution. Because as an individual thought process, the researcher used to think and they used to start their own perspective, and regarding their questions they used to select the solution. To reach the target, they used to start the research. In between, to fill the gap between the raised question and the solution to be found, they used to go for different aspects, like resource utilizations, with the help of a persons, or with the help of a environment resources, or for sometimes with the financial support. There are different steps to be taken. In between what were the steps taken by a researcher, they used to go in an ethical manner. Without going in a ethical manner, on final stage of the completion, there may be chance of complication regarding this unethical research. Because if we did our research in a great manner and we missed, maybe a lack of awareness also, few researchers may miss the research ethics. Then if someone filed raised the question regarding the what was the thing we contributed this part, but why you are not mentioning, then it became complex. Then our research will become like a dilute with this factor. As a researcher, and using especially with this research methodology itself, the academic wise we are introducing to be aware of the research ethics also. And what are the factors again affecting of a selection of research design? Again, the nature of a research problem. As I told you, the selection of research problem itself based on the research resources is very smooth research we can do. If we come with a reverse manner, it may little difficult. For sometimes we will finally, as a researcher, anyone will look after to reach their target. They used to reach the final outcome. But the purpose of research study and research problem impacts either to take a long time, or to take a within a circumstances, within a very short span. So the purpose of study. Then again, research resources coming into picture. Because research resources are always become the source to take a further step. Whatever the researcher want to do to reach their expected output, the utilization of resources always impacts on this research factor again. This purpose of study selection is based on the research resources, means it was again like a very good thing. They'll take the step immediately. They know the purpose of study, but the resources availability is like a very irrelevant. They didn't look after research resources on initial stages, and later after selection of purpose of study, after selection of problem statement, they'll look after the resources, means it is little tough. Then what was the general things the researchers used to be very conscious? Then researchers' knowledge and experience. The selection of research design is largely influenced by the researchers' knowledge and experience, because they avoid using those designs wherein they lack confidence or relevant knowledge or experience. As I told you, this was the thing which is always helpful for a researcher to do productive research. Even the experience comes with the do's and don'ts at the same time. For the first time, if we take the step with a don't, as I told you, without lack of a knowledge, with a lack of knowledge, then also it was the experience they didn't repeat the next time. Luckily, they took the correct decision on their first trials. Then they'll continue and they'll improve the same experience on further research. Based on that, only the research design or the research cycle or plan or what was the collection data collection methods they used to take. Based on this, the research resources will support to their research cycle or research resources to be supportive to do their experimental research. Whereas researchers' interest and motivation is the other part. Because any person would like to become a researcher with this interest and motivation only. Because interest and motivation level helps the researchers to decide about particular research designs. They used to pick like a very streamlined designs at that time. These motivated researchers always analyze most aspects of research design before selection one or a combination while casually. And it was like a researchers may choose research design that may lead to failure for sometimes. Because they are motivated, but there is no awareness about the research means it leads to the failure. Then again, research ethics and principles, which is very, very, very important and should be very aware of any researcher, because the incorporation and application of ethical and legal principles in research design are essential. This includes moral obligations such as respect of participants and their rights, informed consent, and protection from harm, including any adverse effects to educational progress, health, and well-being. That's the thing, the research ethics and principles are to be studied thoroughly by merging into academic part. As a researcher, very few people used to go detailed about what was the principles and what was the ethical and legal principles. Whereas generally for sometimes that was the not part really knowing about by any researcher. But nowadays it was very consciously everyone are like getting into aware of every part of a research luckily. So that is the thing, this research ethics and principles to be followed by using the research resources and utilization and management in any part of a research. Because this may helpful to you and it becomes like very strengthened to the research for a productive research. Because if you are really followed by research ethics and we are doing our research, there is not at all complicated on your final success, because we already protected from the harm, including any adverse effects to the educational progress. And even based on the lack of awareness, if anyone affected with this research ethical part, they use it to face the legal principles as well. Unknowingly, for example, I'll give you like an understandable example. If we are going to attend any conference, we applied our research work to the one conference, and then conference people use it to send a copyright form, which is like a paper proof. The author used to assure that all the terms and conditions according to their publishing, they use it to accept and they use it to make a signature and they'll send. As it is the first of the conference, very few researchers were like don't know really about it, but most of the researchers are aware of it. So this was the thing, always a proof who have rights on this research work and who contributed this research work. These two are different parts. For some time, the contribution of work and the rights of the work comes into the picture of same with the same author name. For sometimes, the contribution of work is named with this kind of people, and this set of people who contributed work, their work, they hand over to others with they give the rights to the other institutions or the other industry, or it may based on the work again. Once when they hand over, the complete research area or the research back of the product will goes to the handover person. If the authorship, the inventor, and at the same time the grant will come to the same inventor, then they have full rights on their research work. Then they will give with their willing to others for later, or for sometimes they didn't give. If it is not really, the research work is not really needful to the implementation of real time, it's just like a achievement of a research but not really implemented. That is the other case of a research. So the selection of a research designs significantly influenced by the ethics of research study. For example, the researcher may be willing to conduct a research study through certain experimental approach, but problems of ethical approval may stop the researcher to do so. Then the researcher may have to settle for available possible of research design simply. So then what are the factors again? A research design must also conclude, like any research design or research cycle is it to be very ethical for a good research and without any harm to their research work. The selection of research design is significantly influenced by the ethics and research study. So that was the reason. And what are the subjects and participants comes to research design? The number and availability of a study subject may influence the selection of research design or a research cycle. If only few subjects are involved, an in-depth qualitative researcher may opt for a qualitative research design. So based on the design, the selection of a research going to be decided. Then after selection, the utilization of the resources coming into the picture. And how the utilization of resources going to be managed by using research ethics. These three things are the part. The first and foremost step by a good researcher, they use it to go with a reverse pyramid. Before getting motivated into the research itself, their motivation becomes sources funds sometimes. I'll explain you in a detailed manner. A person grew up in a very good government sector family or a business family. They grew up in seeing such an environment. Then they motivated with the sources availability surrounding to the person. Then they use it to go with the, is there a possibility to improve or any new ideas. For example, one of the person came from complete business family with a educational and industrial businesses combination. Then thoroughly he have this kind of resources. Then the candidate got a idea about why don't we do the same business in a different model, which have a less efforts and more benefit. And he started to work on it. Before implementation, any brilliant person will do the research on a particular idea or a thing. Then he using these their ideas, and what was the improvement they used to see, the researchers started using their resources itself. And then he come to the research work. Got it? Well, the researcher is really cleared about the improvisation. He or she confirmed that this research automatically brings a new resolution. Already the generation may changing, or based on the changes, this researcher suspected and he started and he already know. Then what was the proof of implementation? Even though that is their family business also, the researcher always look after the proof. Either it is a profit or loss, either it is a true or false. In that perspective, the research work already have sources, no issues. But for implementation, they need some ethics. That's how the research ethics comes into picture. Because to implement their research work with their own resources also, ethics are very important with the time and resources. So, this is the research work which is really good. Why I am saying good means it was like a very good workflow for any researcher. But it is not possible by every researcher. Where was the possibility? It was one of the best choice to do real research, and they use it to implement their own with their investment for sometimes. Again, here comes into the picture of investment. And even though for sometimes investor and research ethics comes into again ethical and legal. Well, we are good at research ethics. Everyone are the resources we have in our own circle and like with our own businesses, and they implemented it with their own trial and error with their risk. Still, they used to be aware of law, because we know we need a human resources at that time. We have a infrastructure and environment everywhere. Still, the single person or a single family didn't go for a larger establishment. Then, along with the investor, we need a few of the human resources in which any form based on the selection again. So that was the thing. Research ethics always comes into the picture. If we are not followed with the research ethics, who are really questioned by ending of the research, it become difficult. It disturbs health and every fruit of the research again. So this is the research utilization, resource management topic in a brief manner. In a further sessions, we used to discuss with a in detail manner about this research ethics in a further chapters. Thank you. Thank you so much for your valuable listening.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.